On to National 2, and we begin in National 2 East this week, where since you were last with us, it has been a big couple of weeks for the division's bottom two sides. And we'll start with Worthing, who claimed their second win of the campaign in round 19 as they beat Bury St Edmunds 38-35 at Roundston Lane. Remember, we featured Worthing in the round 19's episode of the National League Rugby preview show, and they were really gearing up for this game against Bury St Edmunds, and you could tell because they flew out of the blocks in this one and led 31-7 at one stage, and that really set the platform for a welcome victory for the Raiders. And on the same weekend, fellow bottom two side Colchester were beaten at home 40-34 by table rivals Oxford Harlequins. But Mike Hayward's side reignited their survival hopes in their game in hand last week as they beat 8th place Guernsey Raiders 38-36 away from home. An absolutely terrific win for Colchester, who were 19-0 up after just 9 minutes in this one. And that lightning quick start at Foots Lane propelled them to just their second win of the season, despite a tense finish after Guernsey had fought their way back into this one. But a brilliant win for Colchester to head into March. And what it means is Colchester and Worthing sit level on 24 points, but they are still very much in the fight to maintain their status in National 2, despite the good form of the likes of Oxford Harlequins and Sevenoaks, who have both won their last 2 games. Towards the top then, the tests are coming thick and fast over the next couple of weeks for leaders Tunbridge Judeans, but in round 19 they didn't blink at all as they scored 7 tries to see off Kent rivals Canterbury 46-23 away from home. And not many teams go to Canterbury and win like that. So a brilliant win for TJs a couple of weeks ago, and they still have a game in hand over second place Barnes, who remain 6 points behind them after eventually shrugging off 11th placed Havant 36-29 at Hooks Lane last time out. But for third place Dorking, their recent inconsistency has seen them fall behind in this title race as the red and white suffered a third defeat from their last 5 matches in their game in hand last Saturday. Armourou's side came up against an in-form Old Albanian who secured a 29-17 win at the big field to make it 5 victories from their last 6 games, and it leaves Dorking 11 points off Tunbridge Judeans, having played a game more. But right now it is second place Barnes who are continuing to keep Tunbridge Judeans honest following 5 straight wins, and they are our first feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. Now, Barnes, they finished runners-up in each of the last 2 seasons in National 2 East, but March could breathe some new life into the title race as Jack Heald's side play 3 of the current top 5 in March, including Tunbridge Judeans away from home in round 21 next week. But before that, this run for Barnes begins against 4th place Canterbury at home this weekend. So ahead of a potentially season-defining few weeks for Barnes, we jumped on a call with Director of Rugby Jack Heald and Chairman Colum Mannix.
Yeah, really, since the Dorking game just before Christmas was obviously a massive disappointment to us, and we thought just coming into this block, we knew we had to perform and improve on some really basic areas of our game, and we set ourselves a goal coming out of into January, into February in that 5-game run, and we were exactly where we wanted to be after the Havant game. Obviously, the Havant game didn't go exactly to plan. They're a good team at home. We weren't great, but listen, the most important thing is the game was level at one point, and they really challenged us. Particularly at home, they're tough. They've got a good following there, and to get 5 points on the road, whether you score 36 or 86 points doesn't really matter. You can only get 5 points when you play in a league game of rugby maximum. So that was good from our point of view.
And Colm, we've known Barnes have been pretty consistent over the last couple of seasons, certainly in since the changing of the leagues into National 2 East. But Jack's, when we spoke to him in December, said, look, it has been a rebuilding season for us this year. You know, a few of the core players left last summer. So, as a chairman, as a club, you must be really delighted in terms of kind of league position, the level of consistency we've seen from Barnes this year, that not much has changed, that you are second in the table going into the final 2 months of the campaign.
Yeah, back at the beginning of the season, we would have hoped if we could get a fourth or fifth position, considering the changes in the squad, to be holding down second and consistently holding down second for the third year in a row, and challenging for the top. To be quite honest, we're not done yet. As I said earlier, we've got 7 fixtures to go. We're trying to challenge TJ's. They have 8 fixtures. We can target second. We could really hope to keep the challenge and keep the integrity of the league going by making sure TJs have to win the league.
And Jack, we're talking about kind of the consistency of Barnes over the last 2 seasons, but it's kind of been a little bit wider than that, hasn't it, in terms of the way the club have been able to build, certainly since, I think you mentioned before we hit record, kind of 2017, 2018. So that, you know, people will look at it and go, well, Barnes have finished second the last 2 seasons. Surely they want to take that next step, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
No, it isn't. I joined the club in 2018, and the remit from Michael Whitfield was essentially let's get this club sustainable in the division, um, which we did. Obviously, COVID hit. There was a massive rebuild, really, because you know players got distracted. They got other things to do over COVID. There was a massive rebuild. We had a new coaching structure came in, and then yeah, we really built on the back of that, led by kind of Josh Davies and a good group of players who subsequently have retired. But then, it's been really important for us making sure that we stay competitive at the top end of this division. And kind of one thing we're proud of as a club is, we don't openly go on about it, but our second team is something that I'm really proud about, and the depth that we have in our squad. We've already used 46 players this year. Last year we used 52 players, and in order to have the strength and depth, top to bottom for us with 2 squads operating in this division is massively important. So the league's really good. It's really competitive. You don't get many games which aren't, within 12 to 10 points for the last 10 minutes of the game. And I think part of our USP as such is that strength and depth within the squad and the boys that keep driving it forward. Like, we've still got 30 plus lads at training last night. Selection is a headache week in, week out, which is something that I take a lot of pride in, to make sure that we've got competition across the board. And I think that's testament to the players. It's testament to people even before I got to the club, and the depth which we have is really important. Winning helps all these things. It helps people, like the feel good factor behind everything. I think there's no hiding behind that. That when you're winning more than you're losing, it's got more of a feel good environment about it. Rory Kasapian, who's our new captain this year, has done a really good job with regards to keeping the boys together. And fundamentally, we're a group of people who, enjoy each other's company and care for each other. And when you're still turning up, still getting good numbers, the boys, there's a lot of laughter, a lot of smiling, a lot of jokes, a lot of banter. And I know that comes in the majority of rugby environments, but it's not such a chore for the boys when they know they can leave the office 6:30, 6:45, get down to training and still enjoy each other's company. What happens in the league happens in the league. We'll be here next year, whether in National 2 or National 1. And the majority of these players will be doing the same thing because they enjoy each other's company. And that's first and foremost the most important thing.
Yeah, and from our perspective, Jack, we like to hype up kind of narratives at this time of the season. And when you just have a quick glance at the fixtures in March, obviously Canterbury this weekend, which we're going to look ahead to in a brief while, but Tunbridge Judy and Succumb next weekend, Westcombe Park, and then finishing them up against an old Albanian side that are banging form at the moment. So when you do have leaders like Rory, that camaraderie in the group, as a director of rugby, when you do arrive at your ground on a Saturday or get on the bus for an away trip, you must have a lot of confidence that what has been talked about in the week can be carried out on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got to want Rory's led a group of players where we know that we can put it onto the field. We have a limited game plan. We know that. And the way we can challenge teams, and play against teams and challenge them is what we do. And Canterbury are coming to us on Saturday, and like they're going to be tough. Like they're going to be disappointed the way they performed and the result that they had against Tunbridge 2 weeks ago. Um, and they're going to come wanting to put a scalp on a team that sat second in the league, and they're a really good team. Matt Corker's down there; they're growing. So this. Let's not look ahead. I said this to the boys last night. We can't look ahead to playing Tunbridge next week. It's a week at a time. It's get past Canterbury, you know, and then try and get past Tunbridge or give Tunbridge a good going down at their place. So that's really important for us.
Colum, and I know Jack said there that you're obviously one game at a time. You're not looking ahead to the next few games. But as a chairman of the club, this must be kind of what you're in it for when, fingers crossed, the weather starts to improve over the next few weeks as we head into March. But it must be such an exciting time when you are at home, certainly this weekend against Canterbury, and you're looking at these fixtures and going, every single game looks like a really big one between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, sure. It'd be great when the ski season's over as well, so we can get a full squad back. The fixtures line up really beautifully. I think the fixtures for both ourselves and TJs are excellent. There's games both of us can lose there for sure. They've a remarkable season. They've only lost one match. That at this stage of the season, that is remarkable. So hats off to them for that. I have to say, if they get to go and win this season, it's absolutely deserved.
And just before we kind of look a little bit more ahead to the Canterbury game, Jack, just looking back at last weekend, I know Barnes weren't in action, but you were on coaching duty. It never stops for you, Jack. You were obviously in charge of the Rugby Against Cancer charity team that played against the Rosden Park All-Stars last Friday night at the Rock. You may have seen us highlight the charity and the charity game itself in round 19 show when we featured Worthing, but it seems like a fabulous charity, Jack, that a lot of National League rugby clubs are involved with, and Barnes are no different, are they?
No, very much so. Like Jim Pearce contacted me probably a month or so out from the game. It was like, I moved my diary around, made sure I could get down there. I thought it was important. I think most people have been affected by cancer as someone within their wider family at some point in their lives, and it was just good to get down. To be honest, I didn't really do a lot. It was just, get the boys together. It's like, boys, let's have some fun. Let's express ourselves. There's not much coaching when you've got such good players around you who are willing to give up their Friday evening when it was wet. And then, the boys marched into the clubhouse. They had a good auction. They raised some really good funds. So, it's really good charity, and they're trying to raise a lot of money, which is great. And anyone that can get behind it, like we're doing on the 22nd of March, I think we're going to talk a bit about, is great. It's about what the wider community is all about, isn't it? It's caring for people that, may have suffered in some way.
Yeah, and as Jack touches on there, Colm, obviously Barnes very much behind the charity on the 22nd of March, as he says, your round 23 game when you guys host Old Albanian. So, we've seen so many clubs so far over the course of 2025 raise a lot of funds, get the awareness out there. So it must be a day that Barnes are really looking forward to as well.
Oh yeah, we hope the spring hits by then and there's a sunny day and we can all go down to Barn Elms and chase the geese away. Have a nice auction, get the Rugby Against Cancer team out there, wear the socks. It's like Jack says, it's closer to people than sometimes you realise. One of our first team players, he lost a family member earlier or late last year. And his dad comes down a lot to the club as well, a great supporter of our club. But he drove this idea of having that as a fixture for us. And us as a club, we got right behind him immediately when he said he would want to do that and how interested we'd be in that. So we'll be putting a lot out on our social media in the next couple of weeks to drive that 22nd of March, Saturday against OAs. It'd be fantastic.
It's brilliant work that the Barnes are doing, and we'll absolutely share anything that Barnes put out. We did obviously around Worthing and a few of the other clubs that have been involved with Rugby Against Cancer so far this season. So a lot to look forward to from a Barnes perspective over the next month or so, including obviously the Canterbury game on Saturday. Jack, you mentioned it, you touched on it just before in terms of the challenge they pose. Of course, you mentioned kind of the defeat they had, I think, to Westcombe Park and Tunbridge Julians in the last couple of games, but they're still having a brilliant season, Canterbury. They're one of these sides that have taken steps forwards like so many teams in National 2 So what are you kind of expecting from them on Saturday?
They like playing rugby, Canterbury. They play a lot of rugby as if, as in they move the ball well. They've got a good pack of forwards. They've got a good set piece. So, try not to chuckle the stereotypes, at you, but that's basically what it is. They're a good, ambitious team, and I know Matt will have them well prepared for the game. So yeah, they're going to be a good challenge down at Barnes. So very much looking forward to having them back down.
So a huge thanks to both Jack and to Colum for their time. As always, always great to catch up with the pair as Barnes look forward to a big month in their season. They have been a very consistent club in National 2 East and in National 2 in general over the last few years, and they'll be looking to maintain that and see where it takes them between now and the final whistle at the end of April. And as we also mentioned, Barnes will be one of the latest clubs to be supporting the charity Rugby Against Cancer, and they'll be doing so on March 22nd in round 23 against Old Albanian. So I know the club would really appreciate your support around that game in particular, as well as their remaining home fixtures, starting, of course, with the visit of Canterbury on Saturday. But let's now have a look at the rest of the fixtures this weekend in National 2 East. In relation to league leaders Tunbridge Julians, the table toppers go to 5th place Westcombe Park for another Kent derby. TJs have won their last 7 games, while Westcombe Park saw their own 7-match winning run come to an end at Dorking last time out, but the hosts did beat Canterbury in their last home outing, so they are more than capable of ruffling the feathers of the table toppers. Barnes, who we've mentioned, hosts 4th place Canterbury, while at the other end of the table, Worthing will be looking to build on round 19's win against Bury St Edmunds when they go to 6th placed Henley, who'll be looking for a response after a frustrating loss to Sevenoaks last time out. Worthing's relegation rivals Colchester are on the road again as they take on 3rd place Dorking, so some interesting trips for the bottom 2, while 12th place Oxford Harlequins could really strengthen their bid to stay in National 2 East over the next 2 weeks. Pete Davis's men are 12 points clear of the danger zone and face Worthing next weekend. But first up, they'll be targeting a 3rd straight win when they host the Sevenoaks side, who are also in decent form after 6 wins from their last 9 games. Meanwhile, 11th placed Havant will want to halt their slide down the standings. Ron Matthews and Will Knight's men have had a tricky run of fixtures lately, but will be aiming to halt a run of 5 straight losses against an in-form Old Albanian at Woolhams. And lastly, Guernsey travel to Bury St Edmunds. The visitors experienced a frustrating afternoon against Colchester last weekend, and it is now 5 defeats in a row for Jordan Reynolds' troops, while Bury St Edmunds will be absolutely determined to end this campaign strongly after the announcement last week that Director of Rugby Jacob Ford will be departing the club at the end of the season.